Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 49 Volts. I'm your host, as always, Josh, and I'm still with a perfect 2020 vision, but I now have my Meta Ray-Ban glasses and been having fun with those. And that actually is what led to us having our first emergency episode. So I got some really great feedback about my first-person view video that I posted. This gentleman has been in the industry a long time. We're the same age, so we both have 4-page resumes. And I love the fact that you leave it all in there, starting off in police work, security, installer in the field, project manager, ops, all through the spectrum of roles and integration. Has worked as a field engineer with Hitachi, is currently the Chief Solutions Officer at ProTech Solutions Partners. And you may even remember this gentleman from Deadbolt Society. Very honored to have him on my podcast here. I'd like to welcome Jon Polly to the program. Thanks for coming.
Josh, thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this one. Sorry it started off with me calling you out and going, are you sure you want to do that?
No, not a problem at all. And listen, and I thought I really appreciated what information you gave me, and you actually gave a very detailed walkthrough, which I also appreciate. I'm kind of a PMP process nerd. I love everything being broken down, but it's interesting because I'm bringing marketing and personal branding to the low voltage industries and try to help everybody kind of grow in that regard. But there is another side of this, and so I thought this was a really good opportunity to because I'm not going to stop suggesting that everyone be more visible online. But there was actually a lot of things I was thinking about when I was using these glasses. And there were certain choices that I made for myself just based on how visible my life already is. Not everybody's in that spot. And I want to be responsible here and give people some good feedback on what they should be thinking about when they go through it. So just kind of take us on a journey, and I'll probably play a little B-roll while we're talking of the video just so they can get a sense. But I mean, you gave me a really nice breakdown of some risks that I took using my fancy glasses here.
Well, here's what it came out of, right? And this was a LinkedIn thing I'd seen recently on cybersecurity. When you see the back of a vehicle and it's got all of your bumper stickers, and it says, I got a family of 5, right? Or you got pictures of, I love dogs. You're an avid hunt or avid camper or whatever. What that says is, hey, I've got, there's 5 kids. I've got 2 dogs. I've got, this person goes camping frequently. So they're gone for long periods of time from their home. By the way, they've got a sticker on there that they're with the NRA. So did they take their guns with them when they went camping? All that. So the back of your vehicle tells a lot about who you are, and I've even had to look at it and go, hey, don't put so much stuff out there for people to see. So Josh, when you started this, is like, I got these new these new glasses, and here's a day in the life of my boring life, and you start looking through it, I'm sitting there going, okay, he's going through his garage, he gets it, so you you pan across both your cars. You walk out of the garage, get into an SUV, pull out of a neighborhood. Well, I don't know where that neighborhood is, but then all of a sudden, you're seeing street signs. You're seeing things in this, and I'm sitting there going, Josh, I just saw everything about where you live, who you are, what's in your garage, what your toys are, all this other stuff. Then you came back and it was like, oh, here's my kid. And then you panned over and there was a picture of your family on the wall. And I was just like, I see everything about who you are, what you hold dear. Now, on my end, I'm like, and I'm staunchly protective of my PII. There's a lawyer in Chicago, Martin Tully, been part of some of the stuff, events I've been with. And Martin, one of his famous statements is, everybody is staunchly protective of their PII until you give them a $5 gift card for pizza, right? And then hand that over, right? Look at, here's a coupon. Can I get your email address? Well, absolutely, right? I'm trying to be more protective of that. And so here I watch somebody who is in the security industry, and they're like, and here's my entire life on screen for you to see. Again, here's stupid things, but like, you're wearing in the video, you're wearing an Apple Watch, which means you're an Apple guy. In my mind, you're probably an Apple guy. What are you willing to show? What are you willing not to? Likelihood you're probably an Apple person. But does that mean
I've become one
to affect you? Right? It's
Yeah.
Do I need to know what kind of wearables you're wearing? Do you or infrastructure you have? All these things, they're little bitty things that, for the mundane probably mean absolutely nothing. And we give way too much away. But this was one of those that was like, dude, you just showed me your entire family life. One day is not that boring if I'm up to no good.
Right. No, and that's something that I'm aware of, believe it or not, and made that choice. But what I thought was so important to bring up was for all the people who don't necessarily think about that, because, I think not just talking about PII, but talking about what that could mean for somebody, especially if they're not very cyber sensitive, about how using, 2FA and authenticator apps and changing passwords and not exposing certain things, to be very cautious. I mean, you can piece together a lot if you lock onto somebody using a lot of different images, videos, and content that they may produce on various platforms. You can produce like a whole picture of somebody. Even if you think in each one you've not given a lot, it can add up to really a lot of clues about a lot of things.
So I'll give you the example. It's come from a movie, but it rang true in my head, right? Do you remember seeing the movie Now You See Me, right? About the magicians, right? And they steal from the benefactor of their show, and they ask him very mundane questions like, "You look like you would be a strappy guy, kid. You would have a dog that was like Brutus," and he was like, "No, my dog was Fluffy," right? Or whatever it was, and he names off all these little things. Well, and they look at him and said, "We couldn't got that information. That's perfect private information, like the name of your uncle and the name of your first dog, and all of this." But when you think of social engineering, that's exactly what people do. They ask stupid questions that we are and have I been, have I caught myself answering questions? Yeah, absolutely. You go, whoa, stop, like too much. It's because it syncs up so easily. But at the same point, for you, I'm looking at it going, hey, he's got 2 dogs. He's got, 3 kids. They're about this age. Okay, so take that a deeper step further. Okay, well, what's his dog's name? What's his kid's name? That's probably something related to the password that he has created for his bank. I haven't in those words, but all of a sudden it's like, those are things that we miss very quickly. And I tried to call out.
Yeah.
I actually thought about putting it on LinkedIn. I was like, yeah, we're going to send a message with this. I'm not going to call him out in public for it.
No, I was very kind. You gave me a very detailed report in private, and then I immediately said, let's do it on a podcast. So we'll end up there anyways. But I mean, listen, I used to be the type of person, even like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't post on LinkedIn at all. I've been on this platform a very long time, and I never even wanted to comment, hey, happy birthday. I mean, I was always very concerned about my privacy, and for a lot of the reasons that you're mentioning, and as my career path has evolved, I guess I've kind of lost all of my fear. I do think it's important for people, even if they're going to show the amount of things that I'm showing. There were a ton of things that I either cut out of the video or very intentionally would not look at while I had the glasses on. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things that might be on your desk or somebody else's desk when you're recording. I was very cautious about that. I showed a couple of meetings with partners, but I didn't show any of the customer meetings or any of the customer work that I was doing, just because we always want to keep that private. You record your screen, think about all the things that are on your screen, what's on those Post-it notes. I mean, what's going on in your house? Is there a legal document laying on the counter? Is there, I really was processing a lot of those kind of thoughts,
and that's cool. The fact that you actually had that, because there's so many people that don't, right?
Yeah. And in my case, I've made a choice over the long haul that a little bit at a time, there's some certain issues of privacy that I've just given up on. When I worked at Cumulex, my house, along with the lab at work, were the two primary public demo sites. So anybody in the world was looking at my license plates at my garage, at all the exterior of my house. At this time, even though I do have this office and a studio here that I'm in now, the next town over, when I incorporated, I did not have that office yet. So all of my business, my license, my LLC certificate, everything is tied to my home address now. So anybody that looks up the business, public info, my address is there. My wife posts all those photos all the time, and I've all, liked and shared. I've posted them on Leak. I mean, so I actually, when I took that video, for me, and it's just like a me thing, and that's what I want to get across here, is that everybody needs to be thoughtful about their own life and their own circumstances. You were totally right in everything that you said, but for me, I had made a choice, and I was very intentional about what I shared, because all those things were already out there. My son and I, we'll probably do it again. We've been busy this year, but we used to make YouTube videos about cars, and dude, my license plates have been on everywhere for a while. I post photography of the vehicles on Pinterest, and there was a time I used to blur them out, and it took a lot of extra work to do it. It didn't make things look as good. I've actually spent days researching, like when I do videos of other people's vehicles. We filmed a car show here. We were asked, because we did in one of our videos, and then they said, "Hey, would your business come out and do it professionally?" Thousands of license plates in that place. And you can see in last year's video, I was still worried about it, because I had this AI tool that did a terrible job that was supposed to blur out. Yeah, it took a week, and it was like blurring out signs and then leaving the plate. I mean, it was awful. But I came to a place where I just thought, okay, these are, to me, not as secretive as I think. There's something to be said for the fact that there's tools now, AI tools, that if it's on the web, maybe things can be done at scale.
What is your expectation of privacy, right? If I'm driving a vehicle down the road, the license plate is out where everybody can see. There's an LPR camera. There is no expectation of privacy for certain things, right? Now, if the vehicle driving down the road versus where is it parked in the garage, right? That's two different things. Now, if somebody's up to something nefarious, they need to know how to get in the garage, and they know it's the car on the left, not the car on the right, and whatever. Or they decide, you know what, I'm just going to think about it, right? I love that. So you mentioned earlier, you used to be a police officer, right? When you think about SEPTED, used to be, now I've had this, I won't say an argument, this conversation recently, where used to, you could put a sign out in front of your yard, and it said that 70% of the crime stopped there, that said, I have an alarm system. Well, now everybody has a DIY system, whatever. But from that point, you could add in all these other things to deadbolts, all these other things, camera systems, audio, whatever to the system, right? Big dogs. 3% of the people were still going to come through that front door, no matter what, right? You could put up the holly bushes. You could do all of those things. You stopped 97% of the people coming through that door. 3%, it didn't matter what it was. If they wanted it, they were going to come through the door.
Yeah.
But you put enough things in their way, it prevents
slows them down.
It slows them down, and it prevents them from really wanting to figure that out, right? I tell folks frequently, right, that folks come in and say, hey, their daughter's going to college. I look at them and said, here's the deal, because they get a ground floor apartment because it's the cheapest. No, get the third floor apartment. It's more expensive. It's safer. But let's take a step back. If she does, go to the Salvation Army, get a dog bowl from something that looks like Brutus,
right?
Buy the biggest pair of work boots you can possibly find, and set them out front when she's inside, right? All of a sudden, the bad guy who's deciding to come in that apartment is going to take a look at that big dog bowl and those big boots and go, do I really want to go figure out who's inside that room? No, I'm going to leave this one alone and go to the next one, right? And that's the biggest thing about how portraying that security, or facade of security, if you will.
Absolutely, because they're evaluating, making a judgment call what they're going to face. They're not looking for a confrontation typically, unless that's the crime that they're into. Typically, they want to get in and get their stuff and go. And it's the same reason I take a blanket in that SUV, and when I'm traveling, I have a blanket and I cover everything because they're going to need, how do I want to say it? They're not really sure what's under there. So they're not really sure if it's worth their time. Yeah, it minimizes the risk. And I attribute that to riding around in a police cruiser with my dad back in the old days when you could do this. I don't even know if they allow sub 18 ride-alongs anymore, if they do ride-alongs. But I mean, I've spent a lot of time in a police cruiser, and you think that way if you're in or around law enforcement.
Front seat, not the back seat, right? No, just kidding.
Yeah, always in the front. Although when I was, how old was I? There was actually, it's very unfortunate. There was a guy that owned the Mugsy's Pizza, and he was having marital troubles, and he ended up holding up his own pizza shop. Ooh. And I got dropped off. It's like a small town, and my dad was like the lieutenant. And so, like, it's in the old days, it was like somebody found him, and then we went racing in, and he dropped me off at the police station and went over to that holdup. The guy ended up killing himself and his wife, and the pizza place was no more. But now there's just, it's a small department. Everybody's obviously occupied. And they had the evidence room, which I think I ruined some cases playing around back there. And then I went in the back and wanted to pretend like I was in trouble. And then I accidentally locked the cell. So I was in there till that whole ordeal was over. So I did spend a little time behind bars. I like to tell people.
There you go.
And sorry if the stuff I was playing with in the evidence room caused anybody to go free. That was not my intent. Just, role playing my future in marketing somehow in a police station. Now
I'm just grinning because I can think of a few instances of some grown adults that did that. But that's right.
At least I was a kid, right? Like an 8-year-old at least. Yeah, it was a different world back then. I don't think we see that type of fun anymore. Now, just real quick, I mean, obviously, we're both business owners. I run a marketing agency, but you kind of tread the line a little bit with some of your customers, helping them with messaging and so forth. I mean, there is tremendous value in sharing information and having visibility online. I mean, when you look at all this, do you see this as the social media and the visibility and the YouTube and all of these things are net negative because of the amount of privacy we sacrifice, even if we're careful? Or do you feel that like the positives outweigh the negatives? I mean, how do you view that?
So I use LinkedIn primarily for my marketing. I just won, not as a pat on the back, but I just won a top 40 influencer from Life Safety Alliance.
I saw that. That was awesome.
I am very interested in influencing and presenting things out there where, as a thought leader, where people will be interested in reading, right? LinkedIn has been that professional social media for the most part. They've got their moments these days. I use LinkedIn quite a bit. I'm one of those individuals that I still don't put a lot out there, right? And personal, I'm a Christ believer, right? I don't put a lot of that out there. I don't put my political stuff out there. I'm not going to, partly because those things are going to affect that influencing. Those things may affect, it may actually get me business, but at the same point, it may turn twice as many people away. I don't know, but I don't need to go blast certain things out there to say whatever, right? I'm very careful about even if I follow somebody, how I react or respond to that, right? Do I comment on something that could be linked to this is swayed one way or the other way politically? Is this swayed one way or the other way?
Yeah.
Within personal beliefs, whatever. And so I'm even really careful about how I respond. Now, I'm using LinkedIn to put out that content that I think people want to hear and see, and and ways that I want to. I don't want to just be a security guy in this industry. I want to be an agent of change. I don't want to burn the security industry to the ground. We're doing really great things. However, I don't like where there's a vast majority of our security industry that says, oh, this is the way we've done it for the last 30 years, so this is the way we need to do it for the next 30. Guess what? Just like the AI tools, we've gone too far. Or we've not gone far enough. You've got to change. But I'm also the first one to go, you know what? I don't agree with mobile credentials in every application. I don't agree that AI is the best thing out there since sliced bread. Now, there's certain AIs that I think are doing really cool stuff, but as in large. And so now I'm a security technology consultant. I tell folks I get to geek out over security tech and tell people about it. At the same point, I hold a lot of reservation about what I push out there in thought leadership so that it is a quality, still push a lot, but I try to make sure it's all quality. At the same time, I'm very careful about how I use those platforms, right? I'll give you an example. I have a Facebook account. When I first started out, I was using Facebook and LinkedIn. I posted something very, very benign on Facebook, and within about 10 minutes, I had 150 people who their opinion was gospel, and they obliterated whatever it was. And it was, actually had facts and numbers to support it. And they were like, I don't believe that, you're full of what? Okay, dude, I'm out. Delete the post. It's not worth me losing credibility because of that post. I also, from that day forward, I probably have been on Facebook probably 12 times in the last 2 years. It just didn't make sense to use that platform. YouTube, great platform, especially if you're doing video. Lots of benefits to what's there. But even then, you have to go in and go, what do I need to share from a business standpoint versus, whatever. I guess, language is a big issue. Are you in our industry, a lot of folks cuss. I don't anymore. It's one of those things where language might be a trigger for certain people. And all of a sudden you go, oh, man, I didn't think about that, right? Those are things.
You probably didn't enjoy the pre-show with me.
Again, I have no problem. I've had folks they've literally looked at me and go, I'm sorry I said that. I was like, dude, I don't care. I just don't say it. But at the same point, there are individuals, there are end users that language isn't professional, and they still look at it and go, hey, in your YouTube, you went on a tirade, or you did this, that, and the other, and that was a turnoff for them. Is losing one okay? Sure, maybe. Small company like myself, every one of them's I want to treat like gold. At the same point, if you're a bigger company, losing 5, 10, 100 because of how you do business, maybe that's something to think of. And that's how I treat social media. It's a tool. Yes, I spend more time on LinkedIn than I should, but it is a tool for me to post content and thought leadership, and for me to learn more about this industry and the others and the industries that are associated with ours.
The community part's huge. That's what I enjoy the most. That's how we've met. That's how I've met a lot of my new friends over the last few years, and people I really respect and I've learned a lot from. And, that's what I want. I feel like the social media gives us the ability to stick together as a community and not only see each other, a few times a year at the shows.
I'll give you an example. I walked into ISC West. My first ISC West was 2019. I knew nobody and nothing, right? I walk into ISC West now, and 70% of what's on the show floor, I've spoken with those manufacturers over the last year, and I know what their 18-month roadmap is. So I'm going into ISC West to follow up on other conversations. Typically, there's a little bit of that fact finding of the 30% that I've never seen, and those are typically the ones that are those agents of change I want to see, right? Here's what was interesting this past year, and again, not taking I take it very humbly, but the long haul from the Yardbird and all that area all the way down to the event center. It took me an hour and a half to get down there the first day we were there, because I kept running into people that either I wanted to talk with or they wanted to talk to me. That 6 years ago, I knew nobody and nothing. And this year it was, conversation after conversation after conversation, and they were all gold, right? And so that's the power of LinkedIn. You know, I saw the other day that I had just crossed 4,000 followers. I don't take that prideful. That I'm gracious or grateful that many people said, "Hey, we think you've got something to say, and we want to hear about it." And I'm like, you know what? Let me put stuff out that makes sense for. Yes, it may be what's on my head because I'm geeking out of security tech, but at the same point, it's something that apparently 4,000 other people have said, "We like what you're putting out."
I think you put out a lot of very good content. I appreciate following you as well. And I would add to something you said earlier. I think if you're in the social media game for professional purposes, representing your brand or a brand you're employed by, and for your own personal brand, I try to focus on things that are, I don't like the word inclusive anymore. I feel like it's become a little toxic, but I like things that bring people together, not divide people. And so that's, to me, a good rule of thumb for like the politics, the religion, the hot takes, those kind of things. I mean, if you're a 16-year-old on TikTok trying to grow a big following, making people upset is a wonderful way to do that. But if you're in the business world, we've all got different opinions about different things. I'm politically independent, which means no one likes my opinion on anything. And it doesn't matter because we've got bigger things that unite us and more interesting to talk about. And so that's why I always try to like coach people and like, don't come in and get emotional. Don't take things personally. Try to bring value. And just stay away from the other stuff. I mean, that's for you and your family and friends offline. I mean, it doesn't bring any value. And, we don't all have to agree on all of those things, and we don't need to rub each other's face in it. And
somebody I'm connected with on LinkedIn and friends with personally posted something yesterday that said, kind of as a warning that, hey, be careful what you post because your views on what you're posting directly affects that that either I or my company will never want to do business with you because of how you're handling your business and potentially their business on social media. And so, it's etiquette 101, but at the same point, there's some folks that have it and some folks that probably should learn to have it.
Get lost sometimes in what's going on in the world. I mean, and
I'm not perfect. I don't
none of us are.
Yeah.
It's a goal. We always try. It doesn't mean we're going to be perfect. It doesn't mean we're never going to slip up. But I mean, the example you just brought, there's a very well-known person. I'm not going to mention him vocally, but this person is very well known in the industry, very well respected. I was connected to him for 10 plus years and followed his content. And during COVID, he posted something that I actually commented and appreciated and celebrated, where it talked about the 4 horsemen of disinformation, how it divides people, it's hurtful. 5 minutes later, he posted, somebody in a hospital bed, and because of their political beliefs, it was their own fault, and they get what they get and they deserve it. And I blocked him. And I've seen him walk into a booth that I've been in, and I just turned the other way because I was so disgusted with that, and the fact that you could be such an intelligent person, post that, turn around, post the other. And that's my point, is like, I try not to take things personally or look down on people that way, but that to me was very offensive. And so be thoughtful about what you're doing and be consistent. Like, if you're going to preach togetherness and working together, don't turn around then and post something that was really inflammatory, and by the way, now scientifically proven to be incorrect. But it's easy for me to say because I'm politically independent. I understand that people get caught up in, everybody seems to be in one of the two, I feel, and millions of people going one way, there is a gravitational pull. I mean, so I kind of get it, and the person's unblocked and all of that, but it can be upsetting. And so again, you just focus on like, why are we here? Positive things to talk about. I think some personal stuff, like just within limitations, right? Maybe you don't want to go as far as I do, but I mean, we want to get to know each other a little bit too, but just
Yeah,
stay away from the other stuff. It maybe it feels good in the moment, but it's just not helpful. And it's besides the point. There's so many other things that we can all agree on and focus on and do well together.
absolutely. No,
Let's see here. So, do you think? And I know you've got a hard stop here in 20 minutes. So I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just real quick. I mean, so I got these on, right? And this
right.
wearable technology, you mentioned the Apple Watch. So yeah, Apple is starting to suck me in. I used to be more of a Microsoft Android guy, but wearables, I don't think that's going to slow down. And I'm not sure what the future holds. Elon thinks it'll be like merged into our brain at some point. I mean, do you think wearables though? Because I when I was wearing these and having those thoughts, it occurred to me like if I was in an office and maybe people don't notice, demonstrate again, there's a light that pops on, but I'll bet if I want to, I could probably make this alter this light. Maybe I could cover it or
Yeah.
something, to obscure it. And these otherwise look like glasses. I mean, it's
They
Ray-Ban
look like
glasses. I mean,
yeah.
think about what I could be doing. Is this because I know you do a lot of consulting. I mean, is there any concern? Maybe it's a better thing to ask, like with like law enforcement or any of the federal community or anybody that may have sensitive information. Is there new concern about like what wearables may achieve? Because I feel like when I was a kid, these would be like amazing spy glasses.
Oh, they
Dream
they
about.
were the spy glasses, right? It is exactly what. So if you've got sensitive information, they're absolutely a security risk, right? But think of it like so double-edged sword, right? The police officers were scared to death of body-worn cameras until now. Everybody wears their body-worn camera, not because of what could happen, but because of all the things that they've gotten out of because they've been able to go, listen, I was doing my job the right way. Now we're seeing body worn cameras, right? The Motorola camera that said, "Hi, my name is," actually as a sticker on it for retail applications where it's, if you're checking out of the grocery line and here's the girl wearing a camera that says, "Hi, my name is, Amy," or whatever. And it's an interactive tool. These are a little more discreet. The Apple Watch is a little more discreet. They are security concerns, especially around sensitive equipment or sensitive documents, things like that. Here's the one when you look at the Ray-Ban things, right? The other side of that is a couple kids from MIT took the Ray-Ban glasses and they piped the images back to a facial recognition server to pull up everybody's LinkedIn and TikTok and Facebook, all these accounts to figure out who you were. Okay, that's on one hand, that's a security concern, right? If you're walking around campus and it's populating who everybody is from a facial recognition standpoint. If I'm an executive protection detail and I have a loaded database of people that I want to know, are they there? I absolutely want a pair of those because I want it to, if I'm scanning the crowd, and maybe I don't even capture all the faces, right? I'm there protecting a dignitary. But I want somebody to go, hey, there's number 3 on the watch list. There's number 7 on the watch list. There's number 54 on the watch list, right? Just by scanning the crowd, we're picking out individuals that are going to do harm. So I think wearables are absolutely part of, they're a security concern. They're as much as they're a security concern in certain aspects, they're going to be an absolute tool for security professionals moving forward because we've got to use what's at our disposal.
Yep. So it's a little bit of both, right? Depending on how it's being deployed, but it's something else we got to think about. And certainly, I would hope there's going to be some training for people, like when you have visitor management policies, not just the software and everything that you use, but like your policies. Trying to make sure that people are not wearing certain things. That, I would think even in a standard office environment, I would not want somebody walking around recording everything because who knows what they're going to catch a glimpse of.
Well, even going back to those personal things, right? You walk by somebody's cubicle and you look in their cubicle because you're having a conversation, because your glasses are lightweight and all that. Maybe you didn't remember you were still recording, right? You cover up the light or whatever, but there sitting on their desk is the post-it note that says password is password, right?
Yeah.
There was something on LinkedIn the other day that somebody snapped a picture of something very benign of a desk, and somebody had zoomed in and said, there's the soft sitting on the sticky note on their monitor was the password to their software. Like, that's a great place to put that, guys. And now the world has seen it. So I think from an employee standpoint and from a visitor management standpoint, we've got to change our rules and change those policies to reflect, here's another one, right? It's now taking a picture of somebody's face. Does that apply to, so Ray-Ban got sued in Illinois for violating BIPA laws, because you could go on their website and look at your face and put on they took a picture of your face and you could virtually put on a pair of Ray-Bans and see if you like them. Well, what did they do with that biometric information? You're now recording biometric information of a person's face. You're not a business, but you have biometric information that you have recorded and stored somewhere. Are you in violation of some of these laws, like QB, BIPA, and the other 27 states that are currently going through biometric issues? That's something to be concerned with.
Yeah, and that's the same state, of course, that the biometric enrollment, there was a huge lawsuit about, and I think maybe that database was, I don't remember if it was more that it was hacked or if it was just the fact that they didn't necessarily consent. They didn't consent.
They did not. Employees didn't opt out, right? They actually have changed the law in Illinois. It's the BIPA, Biometric Information Protection Act. They've changed the law because the biggest one was White Castle was $13.7 billion fine. They're now at $9 million. But here's still, you've got a person that's walking around with those, and they scan somebody's face. Well, what does that look like? Okay, now let's take another step. You're a person who owns a business. Maybe it's Bowman Vision Media, and you have information of a non-employee that you just got hold of. Does that put you at risk, right? And a lot of folks are going, hey, I just got these really cool glasses, and I just want to do a selfie, right? I was at MerkTech, and Phil Coppola had his own, and he goes, I'm taking a selfie with my really cool glasses. And I'm like, glad we weren't in Chicago, because that in and of itself may have violated a BIPA law. And I say BIPA being the gold standard, but there's 27 states that have those laws currently. That machine isn't slowing down anytime soon.
No, and do you think they're going to go to more of because it's a tough one for Ray-Ban, because it's also up to the user to follow the appropriate laws and rules and best practices. The technology can do these things anywhere you want to do it, but is there some responsibility for the user to be more thoughtful and be responsible for that?
I think it's going to have to be. So the issue with Ray-Ban initially with BIPA was that they had the website and they were offering the service and did not get an opt-in or an opt-out, right? Whereas if you go up and you have an access control system that has a biometric access control, thumbprint, finger, eye scan, whatever, the ones that are being sued is not the manufacturer of the technology. The one that's being sued is the user, right? The company that put the technology in because they didn't have a proper policy on when to get rid of those. BIPA has timeframes on when somebody leaves. You have a certain amount of time to get rid of the scan. They have to have the ability to opt out. All these other fun things. Just like the company is the user in a wearables case, the person wearing the wearable is the user, right? And so did they follow certain those rules. Ray-Ban isn't going to get called into question and going, oh, you sold a pair of glasses in Illinois. It's going to be somebody used your appliance, right? Just like a card reader, to take a picture of somebody. And did they have the right to take that picture? So, and I think that's something that's going to have to be addressed from businesses, definitely up front. Are they going to allow cameras and watches to come in? You know, I worked in places where you couldn't carry a phone into the manufacturing facility because it was sensitive equipment. Well, does that mean I'm leaving my watch as well outside because it's a listening device? It's no longer just a watch, right? And so then do you make the description? Well, I don't know if your watch is a smartwatch or not a smartwatch, so every watch gets left at the front.
Sure.
Every cell phone gets left at the front. Everything, you know, next thing you know, you're walking in your underwear. Like, that's going to be a really weird conversation. But, you know, depending on the level of sensitivity, maybe that's part of the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that Ray-Ban has gone out of their way to provide a visual indicator so everyone around you knows that you're recording. But again, I feel like I could very easily obscure that. So it's going to make it hard because these are standard looking frames, you know, so we'll have to figure out how to, and I know this is not the only brand that's out there either. And some of them you can actually watch inside the lens, like you could have a teleprompter or watch some other type of feed. So I feel like it could get a little interesting.
Google Glass, didn't Google Glass have that ability that you had the teleprompter?
I don't know if that took off. I don't even see that out there anymore.
It did not take off.
Yeah, I've got a full teleprompter in here, but for like hitting the road, I had wondered like would glasses make sense, and I can't remember the name of the brand. They're all over Amazon. They're like $500 glasses, but they display inside them, so you can't just flip the lenses out like you do these. You know, you could put any kind of lens in here. But hey, I know you got a hard stop. I want to run one question by you, and I'm going to give you a big question, but then you don't have a bunch of time to answer, so this will be fun.
That's all right.
So obviously, if we talk about all the wearables in this discussion we just had, we're both the same age. I mean, it's amazing to me how fast technology has moved. This is crazy to me because I remember 20 years ago, it's like you had a color display on your Motorola Razr and it played a different sound. I mean, that was amazing. Now look where we're at. Like 2 years later, iPhone comes out and look where we've gone. I mean, the technology, the rate of increase is incredible. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people. I mean, some people feel like the security industry evolves pretty fast. I know a lot of people feel like we're way behind always. I mean, how do you see that? Do you think that the security industry keeps pace with technological innovation, or do we kind of fall behind?
So I'm going to yes and no. I'm going to be the both sides of that fence. You know, here's what I'll say. You know, 2004, the iPhone comes out. We innovated faster in the 15 years since the iPhone came out than we had the last 50 before that. Right? We went from radio to television to color television to cell phones to all of a sudden we had a smartphone, and then it just blew up. Right? So we innovated faster than we'd ever thought, and then November 2022 comes out, and this thing called ChatGPT shows up, and we have innovated faster in the AI space in the last 2 years than we have in the last 15 before that, and it's going to continue. Now, not all of that. I'm going to stand on my soapbox right now. Not all of that AI is AI, and not all of the things that people call AI work. And I do not use ChatGPT. Stand up right now. If you read something I wrote, it was not by ChatGPT. I don't care that you use it. You know, buddy of mine's Don Moore, and he's got agentic AI. Great. There's certain things that he's doing that I don't want to do that right. But are we ahead in certain ways? Absolutely. In other ways, we're 5 years behind everybody else, right? And so from the IT industry, you know, sister industry to what we're doing, the IT industry is significantly faster adoption and innovation than we are. Somewhat to the point of bleeding edge, and maybe you don't want to get cut on that. But so the argument I had, the thing that got me on Facebook, was that at the time, and this was back, I guess, 2020, ADI and Hanwha sold more analog cameras than they did IP cameras in 2020. Now, COVID and all of that flipped. They now sell more IP than analog. But in 2020, and the number was like 68% across the board, coax cameras ruled the market in 2020 versus IP. We now have IP cameras, coax, but coax cameras still 30% of all cameras going out of the market, going out of distribution is coax cameras. Now, there is absolute reasons to use coax cameras. There's absolute reasons to use coax cabling and IP converters for distance reasons and all that. But we still push 30% of our industry on a technology that was invented in 1970 or earlier, right? We are not where we need to be from an industry standpoint. And that's where I keep talking about agents of change. We need to move. We need to adopt and do some things and solve problems. Stop trying to solve things that we've already should have been doing, right? Here's an issue. Most companies, when you take companies like Linnell and Milestone, who have a rich integration together, they expect those two things to be integrated up front. Over half of the installs aren't today, right? But these companies are need to solve things like business intelligence, integration with ERP systems, digital twin technologies. The list goes on and on and on about what they have to. They're looking for automations and data and other things. And the security industry is still trying to figure out how to integrate Linnell and Milestone, which have a rich integration. We just haven't figured out how to put the two pieces together. Let's get past that and let's go solve real problems. Like, how do I get, when I onboard my new employee, how do I push that information to my access control system? And, can I take that information and automatically send a text message to the new employee that says, hey, take a selfie of your picture. And there is a company out here doing this, that take a selfie of yourself. They'll do the little AI, make sure it's not Elvis or Beyonce that you're trying to be, send it back to them. And so when you arrive on day one, not only do you have your onboarded package, you have your keys, you have your badge, and it's ready to go. And it took them literally a day to put it together. And so we can onboard employees where there's companies still today. It's like, we're onboarding employees. Again, I'll say Honeywell and Linnell, right? Honeywell bought Linnell, and it took the Linnell employees 9 months to get an email address that said Honeywell. They couldn't even get their laptops, let alone it. So we have some problems. We need to fix those. And I think we can, but we need companies ready to change and move faster. And there's a divide right now. And again, I'll sip off my for a second.
And if we don't catch up and deal with that and also focus on the end user experience more, we're gonna run the risk of some disruptors coming in and not being a part of the industry and don't care about the things we care about and leaping ahead, because in the end the customers want easy, good experience, and they don't know to care about the things that a lot of the security professionals care about. And I'm not sure that in the future those disruptors will care about that either.
Well, let's look at the money flowing in this industry right now from private equity firms started with Verkada, right? Verkada came in with an end user, a platform that worked great for end users.
Yeah.
At least in their mind. We all have some problems. Some of us still have problems with Verkada. I've warmed up to them in a lot of ways, but they still have their own issues. I know there's a lot of people that are staunchly, absolutely bad. Their user interface, bar none, it was designed with the user in mind. Most of our technology user interfaces, they look good to the 55-year-old CEO. Right? Don't get me wrong. And for product developers out there, you're going to hate me for that. And I heard this directly from an end user. The user interface does not look like an iOS. But it looks good to the CEO of the manufacturer, not to the 22-year-old out of college who has to work on it. So I think we have some ways to go. And I know we're going to run out of time here, but I want to throw one thing. You put a question to me earlier that I want to in a document. Is there a technology that is technology or capability you wish for that we don't have?
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, it's coming. What I think is coming, right? And it's the fact that, and it's going back to the original piece around PII. We have long in the tooth said, give me your information, right? I need your information. For an access control system, I want to know everything about you. Do I need to know everything about you? No, I need to know first name, last name, the car you drive, the license say, things that are going to be a credential to you. HR needs to know more. This whole mindset of decentralized identity, and there's a lot being moved towards that. There's a couple of people that are being spokesmen for it in our industry, and fantastic folks, right? And I'll call it Kabir Mehigev and Passable being one of those. But they're not the only folks that are looking at this, that are doing your PII is your PII, and you own your PII, and you give it over as you see needed. So if you go to a hotel, does the hotel need to have everything about you? No, they need to have first name, last name, and your credit card number. That's all they care about. If they ask for more, why do they need that, right? From an access control standpoint, what do you need? I'll be glad to give it to you, but I don't need to give you everything about my life, right? Go look on LinkedIn for that, right? But all that PII is being held by me in my own stuff, which means when I leave, I hit a button, say revoke, right? And now you don't have things like BIPA and other stuff because I gave you access to it, and I'm pulling that access away. If I leave a hotel room, does my information for that hotel need to stay in their database or whatever? No, you needed to know that I was a visitor and that I paid the bill. After that, that's the technology I think we're coming to. I've talked to some major manufacturers who have said that's what they're building to, right? If AI is the ballerina on stage, the starlet waiting in the wings is decentralized identity. And I think that's where and I don't know if that's fully Web3. I know Web3 is a kind of a bad term in our industry, but at the same point, we're heading that direction. And so that's where I'm really excited to see move forward. The other one would be, I've talked a lot around digital twin. From a technology standpoint, we're not utilizing those technologies nearly enough. And I think that from an industry standpoint, we're going, that's one of the technologies that we're going to get blown by everybody else. And guys that deal with HVAC and 70-year-old technologies, when they blow past you, it's probably not a great thing. So,
not a great feeling, right? Got to do better. Got to do better. First of all, great shout out, Don Marone of Highland Tech AI, friend of the show. I think you mentioned him a little bit earlier.
I did. I think a lot of Don.
And he's on the other end of you on AI for sure. But yeah, I love what he's doing, and he's a great guy. Give yourself a plug before we go. Tell everybody a little bit about ProTech and what you're doing.
Sure. So ProTech Solutions Partners, I'm a security technology consultant. I bring in teams of folks when I need to, but it's being a security technology, I work with companies to solve their problems. Something I say frequently is the best technology in the world for the wrong use case is the wrong technology. Let's find the right technology for your use case.
I love it. So we'll put some contact information, how to find you and your business in the video description. Thanks again for coming. Thanks for staying a little over. I know you had a 2 o'clock, but man, I wish I had another hour. And we talked for probably 45 minutes before we even got started. So great conversation. Hope we have another soon. And for everybody else, we'll have more episodes of 49 Volts coming your way soon. Thanks so much. Bye.